How are you?
How about you? Are you ready?
Absolutely. Got my words ready.
Pardon?
Well, Sean, I hope they take the medicine.
Hey, I figured I'd see you here.
Invested.
Like here?
Yeah.
Camera's right there. Would you rather move over to a spot so I could walk my Scott right there? Please. I'm not saying. You want to sit there? Go ahead. Do you mind if I go up front? No. You really don't mind? No. Okay. Not at all. How are you?
Let's see, both of my schools. Yeah, 2 schools I'm at are in the top. Oh, I'm not scared now. I do not like them. Oh, I don't like them.
Man, look at that. Double whammy.
Oh, yeah.
Wait for me, Rose. Or I will.
Hey, Paul. I'm sure he'll look at it, but it probably is that.
Okay.
I have to find where my mother. No, they went first.
Emily and me.
somewhere if you want.
What should I do? I just brought this. Want me to sit behind you?
There you go. Watch the hot chocolate there.
Okay, can I sit right there in that spot?
Yeah. Okay. I'll pull this forward a little bit for you. There. Oh, hang on. I'll get the hot chocolate out of the way. There you go.
Yeah.
When I got here, so.
I did like a double take.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, where is he? Then I looked at the camera.
They shouldn't be.
No, right? There's Miss Diane.
There's a game. I got nothing. Gym. Yeah. More than usual.
Yeah, more than usual. It's still there.
Could be so much more.
Yeah.
Should be so much more.
There?
Yes. I got everything. It's going. It's live and broadcasting now. Hopefully it stays that way. I was having some problems with the streaming the other day. And the district network doesn't let us play with personal voice very well.
Hi, Miss Emma. How are you?
Oh, sorry.
No, it doesn't matter.
Say hi to the camera.
Is it not? That's not recording yet, is it?
It's live streaming.
Nice.
You.
Forget that then. That spotlight. We'll walk around the other side so you can say hi to
What are
me.
you doing? Silly girl. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you.
Hi, how are you?
No, because I get this.
No, she was just sitting there.
Tuesday morning when we had an internet. Something screwy was going on. There's not a balance up.
Yeah.
I do have one of those. I am wearing my Thankful shirt tonight. Might be covered in car.
I don't know what's worse.
Non-consent agenda. So an individual consent agenda. Unless they pull it out.
Hey, what's happening?
Still trying to sell that. I didn't realize that we would have a lot left for semi-moral school. I don't even know what that is anymore. I guess so. Lincoln Jackson was over around the corner of Lincoln and Jackson Street on the west side. It was, well, yeah. But Samuel Morris,
No, I didn't. What?
I never hear of that one.
How it worked out. Exactly. Yeah. And we can't.
What's really exciting with you?
Well, not that I want all of them,
Right.
but I don't know, all weekend, we're still talking about stuff.
I'm happy just having the layout.
I'd like to call to
Yeah,
order
no,
this
that worked
evening's
out.
Monday, March 4th board meeting at Scranton High School. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Forsman?
Present.
Mr. Duffy? Present. Ms. Gilmore? Present. Mr. Lush? Here. Mr. McAndrew? Mr. Pople? Mr. Schuster? Present. Mrs. Dixon? Present. 8 present. Communication to the board. Executive Executive sessions were held on Monday, February 25th, 2019, and this evening, March 4th, 2019, to discuss personnel, disciplines, and hiring recommendations, real estate appraisals, assessments, and litigation.
Thank you. Solicitor's report. Attorney Audi?
I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Superintendent's report. Dr. Kirian?
I have no report this evening.
At this time, our Chief Recovery Officer, Dr. Candace Finan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here this evening. Thank you for inviting me. As the new Chief Recovery Officer, please forgive my back. Okay. As the new Chief Recovery Officer for the Scranton School District, I pledge to work in good faith to provide the students and staff of the Scranton School District with an opportunity to achieve and succeed in a financially stable school district. I will use my expertise as a teacher, principal, superintendent, and consultant in conjunction with the educational research and resources available through the Pennsylvania Department of Education to assist the district administration and board in identifying successful programs and financial solutions to the areas of concern in the development and implementation of the Scranton School District Act 141 Recovery Plan. I will be working with your superintendent and administration to build a roadmap to assist the school district in its journey toward the development of a cost-effective, quality educational program for all students. We will be examining all options. I can tell you that there will be changes as you continue your journey, as your current journey has had the Scranton School District in a $27.7 million debt. The Act 141 Recovery Plan will have a sustainable budget while building reserves for the future. The plan will include baseline and multi-year financial projections. Initiatives in this plan will fall into the following categories: educational improvement, communication and governance, operations, facilities, workforce, and revenue. I will also be working with an advisory committee that you will appoint this evening. That advisory committee will work without compensation as per the law, and that advisory committee will meet for the first time Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. in the second floor classroom of the administration building. The law is very specific as to who can be on that specific committee, the advisory committee. And I realize that there are some folks who would like to represent their union or their community. You are invited to attend those advisory committees. They are open to the public, and I will take all input during that meeting. You're welcome. I'm very pleased to be here. I will be working through a number of resources to help put this plan together. And again, thank you for having me here this evening. By the way, I've been asked who pays you. While I haven't yet signed my contract, but I would be paid by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, not the Scranton School District, just so you know. And that's per law. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Fine. At this time, we will have the public comment section of our agenda. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to speak and will be timed by the board secretary. When your time is up, you will be allowed to finish your sentence, and the board will not answer any questions, nor will it tolerate any derogatory remarks or personal attacks. Union officials will be allowed 4 minutes. Our first speaker this evening is Luann. You don't want to speak? Kevin O'Shea? You're okay? All the 32 BJs are? Thank you. How about Justine Hell? Justine Hallahan?
That's not a very good public speaker, so I apologize in advance. But I'm here actually to represent my son and the students of Bancroft Elementary School District. Probably shouldn't have been the first to come up this evening. But I'm here to represent him because at the end of the day, we heard that we were going to be looking into closing our Bancroft Elementary School, as well as one of other school buildings in the district. And Bancroft is not just a building. It is not just, ooh, I'm knocking over WNEP. I'm sorry. Okay, still knocking them over. Okay. We're not just a school building. We're a community, and I'm sure each and every single one of you here this evening have heard the expression, "It takes a village to raise a child." It certainly does, and at Bancroft Elementary School, the staff, the teachers, the custodians, the secretaries, the school nurse, everybody takes so much of their love and their care, not only just at the building, but also they take it home with them. They love our children, they show our children. Bancroft's mantra is, Bancroft students are kind, responsible, safe, and respectful, but the biggest word in there is safe. And they feel that with our staff at Bancroft. They feel that with the teachers that get no respect half the time, not from just the teachers, but the parents, and so on and so forth. We forget as teachers, as you're all up here, as teachers, they're not just teachers from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're teachers all day, every day. And you're taking our teachers and our staff from our children, and I feel that it's unacceptable, to be quite frank with you. There has to be another way to financial recovery other than closing down our village, our community. And I just feel that you guys need to hear that this evening and every single day until there's a decision made. I don't feel that closing our building in particular is going to benefit anybody. Honestly, it's going to disrupt our students. It's going to disrupt their learning. It's going to cause them to, get in stress, having to go to school, not knowing where they're going, not being close to home. They're not going to know the staff that's there. It's just interruptive to their education, especially my child, because I'm his mom. So, and at the end of the day, I just feel like you guys need to really consider other options, because there's no other option. You can't close the school. It's just one of those things, I had a whole spiel. I can't remember half of it because my public speaking, I'm getting real anxious. I keep looking at you because you're the only one that I feel like is making eye contact. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, I really hope that you guys consider other options. My son suffers from anaphylaxis. He has a food allergy. And I can tell you, by being a child to a teacher and administrator, as well as being one of 5 children, all of my sisters and family members are...
Excuse me, Justine, the timer went off.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Saying?
Sure. I was just going to say I have a lot of family members who are involved with school districts outside of Scranton that are teachers, administrators, so on and so forth. And Bancroft has gone above and beyond, even in their expectations, what they've seen. And, I just hope that you guys consider other options, and thank you very much for your time tonight.
Diana Harris.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Diana Harris. Welcome. Tom Borthwick. I'm talking about safety. She also said something about safety. I was going by an article that was written the year anniversary of the school shooting down in Florida. The different things that we've done, school districts have done. And I came across the Pennsylvania Department of Education, a $25,000 grant that we got. Is there any way that you can tell me what did we spend that $25,000, or are we going to continue to spend it? Does anybody know if we did spend it?
I can help you on this. We have a safety plan that's put into place that states what we will do with grant money coming in. The $25,000 did come in, and we're using that money to buy things such as cameras, monitors, wands to wand students as they come into the schools, and many other kinds of safety equipment. Mr. Jeff Brazil, who cannot be here tonight, has that entire list, and we would be able to get that out to the public.
Okay, that's very good. Do we have a date when it's going to be implemented?
We continue to implement it.
Okay.
That isn't the only safety grant we get. So we have gotten several safety grants, and we've been continually updating our equipment in all of our schools.
In all of the schools?
Yes.
Okay. Well, because I saw a metal detector out there that's pushed to the side, and I was concerned about that.
And we do use that metal detector when we feel we have a crisis in the schools.
Okay, because I have grandchildren in the school district that I'm afraid that something's going to happen if we're not diligent and we're not watching for things to happen. Not that I want to be a naysayer, but when I saw that we got money, I was curious as to what it was spent on. And thank you for doing that continually. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Finan has asked to address the audience for a minute. I do know that to the young lady who just spoke about closing bankrupt schools, there was a report that PFM, a consulting firm, did give about the possibility of closing schools and what that would mean and some cost savings. As I mentioned earlier this evening, no decision has been made with that regard. All options are on the table, including trying to increase revenues, including looking at workforce, including looking at everything from procurement to operations. So we're going to look at everything. But for any of you sitting in the audience thinking that that decision was made or discussed by this board, that has not even been brought to them. It was brought as an example, but that decision hasn't been made yet. And it would be made as part of a long-term plan. This Act 141 plan will most likely cover 5 years. It's recommended 3 to 5, but we're looking more at 5 when you're talking about the kind of money that we have to recover. But I wanted to assure you that that may be an option. It is not an option this evening. Thank you, Dr. Finan. Suzanne Fury. Ms. Orr, do you have the timer?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Suzanne Fury. I am a proud first grade teacher at Neil Armstrong Elementary School. You have listened to me in the past, and I am a very patient and very tolerant person, and yet I find myself very outraged and disgusted at the proposals made by PFM. I cannot fathom that you could possibly consider the drastic measures that they are suggesting, such as closing schools and packing our classrooms. Not one recommendation was directed toward the well-being of our students. A few work sessions ago, Sandy Lamagna, an experienced and well-respected educator, made a presentation. Some of the board members were there and administration. Her first words to you were that Scranton is unique. She said that our students have the most complex, complicated needs she has ever seen. If you were not present, I do recommend you watch what she said. It was enlightening. The teachers, paraprofessionals, and support staff already know what is going on in our buildings, but no one ever asks us. If you did, the recommendations to close schools and pack classrooms would never be considered. because that would inflict more harm on our students and families who are already dealing with all of the other cuts and the harm that has led to. Over the past several years, all we have done with our students and families is taken away with such things such as furloughing teachers, closing our libraries, which I still have difficulty saying out loud, walking by empty libraries, discontinuing our instruments and our chorus, cutting our physical education, our languages, lessening our academic requirements for graduation, not having hall monitors at the intermediate level, taking away our 5-minute time at our elementary level so that one class is going in at the same time the other's coming out. I'm still trying to figure out how I can finish my reading class at 20 to 10 and be in the gym at 20 to 10. That causes a loss of instructional time. It may look good on paper, but it does not work. Okay, so every day we're losing valuable instructional time. Our preschools have no exposure to professional related arts teachers. Our preschool doesn't go to the gym, doesn't go to the music room, they don't go to the art room. I don't understand that. Okay, as far as our teachers, and I'm truly speaking from my heart, I feel like we don't exist. I feel like anything that we have to say as professionals in the classroom is totally disregarded. No one ever talks to us. We are with the children every day. We see them get off the bus. We see them get back on the bus. It does take a village. I'm glad I heard that said. There is no village as far as I can see right now in Scranton. We are doing the very best we can in our classroom, but I feel like our hands and feet are tied.
Suzanne, the timer's up. You can finish up the sentence you're on.
Our families need help. Our children need help. Please make decisions that don't take anything else from our students. And I would ask, if I could just ask, if it's possible that someone could keep track of the questions we ask. I've asked this before, perhaps at this meeting, if someone could write down the questions that we ask, and could they please be answered at another meeting? We never get answers to our questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne.
I agree with Mrs. Fury. I understand we're not going to engage in lengthy conversation here, but when there are questions, if they can be referred to Mrs. Orr, and we can make sure and all be copied on the response, I think that would be ideal.
I absolutely agree too. And thank you. Marcia Johnson and it looks like Chelsea.
Good evening, school board members, administrators, my SFT colleagues, and the Scranton public. My name is Marcia Johnson. I'm a physical education teacher at Neil Armstrong Elementary. I've been teaching health and PE for 22 years, both at the intermediate and elementary levels. Aside from being an SSD teacher, I'm a proud parent of Nick and Aiden Drouse. My boys are a product of the Scranton School District and are currently junior and senior here at Scranton High. Aiden is president of his senior class. He holds a 98 GPA and plans to attend either Michigan University or Georgetown. Both boys are excellent athletes, and just this past weekend they qualified to be state contenders at the PIAA Swim Championships. My boys are receiving the best public education in Northeast PA, and that is because of the Scranton School District teachers right here. I expect from my students what I expect from my own children, the very best. And the reason I'm here tonight is because as a phys ed teacher, I'm deeply troubled by the district's lack of health education. Northeast students are scheduled for one health class per quarter. One health class per quarter. Northeast students deserve more than that. In 2019, our children face issues that you and I never dreamed of, such as teen pregnancy, teen violence, teen suicide, STDs, HIV, alcohol and drug education, eating disorders, depression. Also things that we don't consider, like vaping and huffing and whippets, are harming, if not killing, our children. With all that faces young people today we here at the Scranton School District, we have cut health education programs in our schools. In 2019, we We should be doing more, not less, to educate students about health dangers. We owe it to them to provide valuable lessons and education before it's too late. We can't wait until someone dies or causes brain damage from activities that they thought were harmless. Education equals prevention. Health education empowers behavior change and actions through increased knowledge. Your scheduling has decreased health education knowledge, decreased. I want changes made, and I expect our health and phys ed curriculum objectives to be taught. Most elementary students never receive one health class. There's very little time to teach health ed at the intermediate level. 4 classes a year. Shame. Shame on 4 classes a year. I taught at Broken Mountain for 2.5 years, and we followed a very good health and PE curriculum, which included HIV education, and all 8th graders were taught American Heart CPR. That same curriculum had been taught since I began working here in the district in 2001. No more. There's no more CPR. There's no more HIV. Please fight to reinstate a strong health and PE program at all levels. Don't you agree? Your health is everything. Finally, I want to address the fact that after teaching 22 years, I am now scheduled to teach 7 40-minute classes per day in comparison to 6 40-minute classes. Plus, I travel to Whittier Annex to teach 4th and 5th grade classes every Monday morning. I have been teaching 6 elementary PE classes per day for the last 12 years. This new schedule has eliminated my 5 minutes between classes. When I dismiss a class, another class is waiting right there for me.
Excuse me, Marcia, your time is up if you'd finish up.
I'll try. For example, if 4th grade is taught between 9 and 9:40 and 1st grade is taught at 9:40 to 10:20, if instruction time begins at 9:40 for 1st graders, I'm not able to break down a 4th grade lesson and be prepared for the 1st grade lesson when they're back to back. Instructional time is lost. I'm asking the administration to please return to the previous related arts schedule, which included 5 minutes between classes where there's time to prepare materials and my equipment. It's so necessary. Listen, at age 56, I'll be running the Scranton Half Marathon on April 7th and the New York City Marathon in November. So if I'm physically fit at my age, why am I completely exhausted after teaching a full day of PE classes? Why? I put my heart and soul into teaching my discipline, but I am very tired of being disrespected as a professional.
Marcia, you need to finish up, please.
Okay, please add more health education classes. Please return to 6 classes for elementary related arts. Thank you for listening to my class.
Christine Goodycunt. Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea. Oh, she's speaking too? Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, we just dosey do.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
Hello, my name is Chelsea Hegel. I'm an 8th grade student at Northeast Intermediate School. I'm here to talk about how physical education and being a part of the Mighty Milers program has benefited me, and how the now lack of physical education in the intermediate schools affect me. I was in the Mighty Miler program from 3rd grade until 5th grade. Physical education is important because of the development of motor skills and enhancement of flexibles and hand-eye coordination. Studies show that kids need at least 60 minutes of exercise a day. This helps us think and function better in our everyday lives, like doing better on tests, studying, and everything else in classes. Right now, we only get 55 minutes a day for 6 days of gym class and health. Being part of the Mighty Milers program at such a young age helped me to enjoy running and succeed at it. Ms. Johnson in the Mighty Milers program taught me how to breathe correctly while running, how to run hills the right way, eat healthy, and strive to do my best. Now that the PE and health classes have been cut, we don't get the exercise that we need and the knowledge of how to eat healthy and stay as healthy as we can, as our bodies are still growing. I learned from the best teacher and coach, Ms. Johnson, that doing my best will help me achieve my goals. Since starting in the Mighty Milers, I have continued to run on my own, running 5Ks, joining the cross-country team at school, and the confidence she taught me to have myself in has helped me to win races and help me do better as a teammate. I also learned that encouraging others to do my best not only can help others do their best, but make me proud of myself and themselves. I feel that we need more physical education and health in our schools, so we can all learn to be healthier, more physically active, and more disciplined in school. I am so glad Ms. Johnson and the Mighty Milers taught me at such a young age because I may not be running right now. Ms. Johnson also said that you could do whatever you put your mind up to. So hopefully you put this all in your minds and add more physical education and continuing the Mighty Milers program back to our school day. Thank you.
Now Christine Goodhunts.
Good evening. My name is Christine Goodhunts. I am a 3-year-old preschool teacher at John D. Whittier Elementary. I began my career in the district almost 25 years ago in 3-year-old preschool. Please consider what I'm presenting to you this evening. I spoke at the last board meeting on February 4th. I discussed some of the recommendations PFM was making for our preschool program. The most concerning to me was the exclusion of students based on economic needs. This is being touted as a new change in mandate. However, it is not a change in mandate. The public is told we are out of compliance with federal guidelines, but we are not. In the Title I federal guidelines from October 2012, page 7, and the most recent ESSA guidelines from 2016, page 9, I did see, quote, the use of family income as one factor in determining eligibility is allowable, especially for the purpose of prioritizing when there are not sufficient Title I funds to serve all eligible preschool-age children. But children should not be identified as eligible for a Title I preschool program solely on the basis of family income. This is not a change in mandate or a requirement. We have always had sufficient funds to support our preschool program. Even Kim Wolk from PFM presented the following information during her PowerPoint presentation on September 5th, 2018. Quote, selection for services is based entirely in low achieving, not low income. Students should be admitted to our Title I preschool based on academic needs, which has always been the case with our preschool program. As per the 2016 ESSA Title I federal guidelines on pages 9 and 10, I've provided a copy for you with the cover page, table of contents, and Title I preschool section highlighted for all of you. All of Scranton's children deserve a high-quality early childhood education. Why would you put additional restrictions on preschool enrollment when you don't have to, especially since it is not required and not necessary? I've been told parents have already been asked to provide proof of income. I was wondering when this was approved by the board. Many people have been told the school district is changing from a targeted assistant program, which we've always been, to a school-wide program next year. If so, according to the ESSA guidelines for 2016 on page 10, table 1, quote, if a school operates a preschool program in a school-wide program school, all preschool children who reside in the school's attendance area are eligible to be served. Guidelines would be a moot point. Why restrict enrollment and leave students out of our program when we don't have to? It's in black and white in the most recent federal guidelines. We are not out of compliance with federal guidelines because we do not have to have income standards. I also found on page 10, quote, Title I funds may be used to provide preschool services for Title I eligible students who are not eligible for Head Start services based on income requirements. So students whose family make too much money to qualify for Head Start can come to our preschool because we do not need to have the income requirements. Particularly if we change to a school-wide program, all students in the school, including all preschool students, are eligible to participate in the program without any restrictions. Preschool students would all be eligible because everyone in the school would be eligible for Title I services, and they are part of the school, so they would also be included. And just a reminder, Title I is a federally funded program, so 28 salaries, benefits, supplies do not cost the district a dime. So please, save our preschool for all of our students in the city. They deserve it, for academic needs, not for income. Thank you so much.
Christine, Kim Wolk was supposed to be here tonight, and weather prevented her coming. I would like to have a copy of all of your concerns so that she may address them at the next meeting. I have not heard that. I don't know. Is Molly here?
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Finas, Dr. Carrion, and members of the board. The last time I stood before most of you was back in October, and at that time we had a lengthy discussion regarding grades and transcripts. At that time, we managed at the 25th hour to get the transcripts out for our children to apply to colleges. Sorry, Channel 16. However, we were going to avoid this from ever happening again. At that time, we also discussed the fact that come January, we would be going through this again for midterm transcripts. Lo and behold, last Friday, as a matter of fact, March 1st, midterm transcripts were due to all colleges, not only for scholarship opportunities, but for college admission as well. Once again, at the 25th hour, we were scrambling and frantically expecting a different result. This has to stop. We have to do better, okay? Our children deserve better. We're home telling our children that they need to be proactive, that they can't wait till the day before a test to study for it, that they can't wait the day before a term paper is due to start doing it. We're telling them to get this stuff done, and yet here are our examples. And the head of the school district and the school district itself is not able to do it. I myself as a parent have never received a progress report on time, if at all, because every time I ask about them, they're wrong. I never receive a report card on time because always the first run of the report cards is wrong. This is wrong. You are messing with our children's futures. You are messing with their scholarship opportunity. We're waiting for Scranton. Every other school district has their packets in but Scranton. It's abominable. Why? Why? We need to come up with a new solution. I am here begging, imploring, doing whatever we have to do to get to the prototype. I never received any information. All is fine. All is fine. Until the Tuesday before the transcripts were due, and I find that my daughter's rank has slipped 7 points. What is that going to do for her college admission opportunity? If her initial transcript was 7 points higher than her midterm transcript, my daughter's hosed. I'm asking you to stop this. Final transcripts are due the end of June, June 30th. Can we please not wait till June 30th to go to the colleges? Can we please fix this? Please. Progress reports for the third quarter are due March 7th. I'm gonna guess that that's not gonna happen. Third quarter ends April 9th, and at some point we'll receive the third quarter report card. I hope. Third Finan, I'm very glad that you're here, and I'm very happy that your first two opening statements were you were going to do better with education and communication. I welcome that.
It is quite an unacceptable issue that has been going on for quite some time. Ms. Dunleavy and I have had communication about this. Yes, we have a plan, and I have outlined the plan several times, and we are moving forward on it. The district will transition to a new system at the best time to make the transition. And I did speak with Ms. Finan, Dr. Finan about that today. Policies are updated, and in the meantime, a principal will be put on short-term temporary assignment to assist us in troubleshooting the system to try to determine why corrections do not hold in the system after they are made. Finally, the representative of eSchool, who serves as our technical support, has been removed. We will get a new person assigned to us and are planning on meeting with him/her this month to resolve any issues that we can get done prior to the next report cards. I apologize on behalf of the district and vow to resolve this.
I have been at Bancroft since 4-year-old preschool, and my little sister would be going to kindergarten next year. I want my little sis to grow up how I did. I want her to go to kindergarten and graduate. I want her to see all of the greatest teachers in the world. If it wasn't for Bancroft, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have all my friends. I wouldn't have met all these wonderful teachers, and last but not least, we wouldn't have grown the big community that we have now. If Bancroft doesn't stay open, all of the kids that are not in 5th grade are going to get booted to a different school. Bancroft should stay open. Also, music, library, and gym. All the kids love specials, and you took strings away from us. You took away our library teacher, Miss Gahan, our wonderful gym teacher, Miss Lynch. I don't think you are thinking about what the kids think. See, I was playing violin. As soon as I got good at it, you took it away. You took away our favorite teachers, and now you're deciding to close down the school? Maybe you should think about the kids before you decide. We are all a community, and you shouldn't take that away from us.
I am a student at Bancroft. I don't think you should close down Bancroft. Here are the reasons why. You may think we are too small of a school, but that just makes us more of a family school. Another reason why I think you should not close down our school is because the 4th graders will never have their 5th grade year. They're basically going to middle school next year. They'll never get to be the big dogs. I just think that you should rethink the situation. I mean, I went to this school my whole life, and this is the last year I'm going to see it if it closes down. My cousin won't get to have the same awesome teachers as me. Thank you for hearing me out, and I hope you change your minds.
My name is Ava Stanton, and I am currently in 7th grade at West Scranton Intermediate. I am writing to address the issue of closing one of our elementary schools in our community, George Bancroft. I started at George Bancroft at the age of 4 and graduated 5th grade at 11. Most of my memories are from Bancroft or from the people that I met there. As I stated, Bancroft means a lot to me. For a period of time, I have met many friends and have become comfortable around the teachers there. The faculty at Bancroft helped me and many other students not only learn, but build friendships. My family has also gone through George Bancroft. My one cousin is currently in kindergarten. During his short amount of time at Bancroft, he has met many friends, and he tells me all the time how much he enjoys school. I, for one, know that if you close the school, he will be separated from most of his friends. Making friends the first time is hard enough, but to have to do it all again at such a young age would be petrifying. All of the students from the closing schools would be in the same state. Imagine if your child was in this situation and how he or she would feel. I understand the reason for shutting down these elementary schools, but perhaps there's another way. You might think that closing such a small school like Bancroft wouldn't make a difference, but it does. I love George Bancroft. I have had many great times there, and I'm sure others could say the same. After listening to my claims, please consider changing your mind and keep George Bancroft open.
Isabella Stanton.
That was her.
Oh, that was her? Yep. Ava. Holly Mead.
Hi, my name is Holly Mead, Northeast Intermediate special education teacher. My first suggestion, and I did bring this up last time, and I apologize, I missed the work session if you talked about it, so I apologize to the board if you already discussed it. I just wanted to let everyone know that our board only meets 9 months out of the year. Our board does not meet in January, July, or August. I would hope that the board would pass a resolution to meet during January and August in the near future. But what I'm really here to talk about are the kids. Jennifer, Traquan, Anthony, Jackson, Destiny, Jay, Michael, and Amanda, and Rashawn. These students are the reason that I come to these meetings. Those are fictional names, of course. These students are probably the main reason you all decided to become school board members, to help the students of the Scranton School District. But these students do not have a voice in this process. Every decision the board makes or the superintendent suggests affects these kids, my kids. As a special education teacher, I keep my students on my case list for 3 years. We form lasting relationships with our students and our parents. Our relationships focus on the educational outcomes of children. That's my job, and that's why I call them our kids, my kids. I really wanted to take a picture of my class and hand it to all of you. The entire board, administration, recovery team members, and the members of all of our legal teams. I wanted you to look at that picture each time you voted. Look into the eyes of those children and tell them what they're going to gain or lose with each of your decisions that you make. It seems we've lost touch with what school boards, superintendents, and solicitors do for school districts. Let's start to base our decision on what's right for the students at the Scranton School District. My suggestion is to reset yourselves and prepare yourself for positive change, not negative. My kids, Jennifer, Traquan, Anthony, Jackson, Destiny, Jay, Michael, Amanda, and Rishan deserve better.
Thank you, Holly. Kevin Kay.
Good evening, directors, and welcome, Dr. Finan, and thank you for standing up and serving 3 of our students hands-on here tonight. I don't think it's any news to anyone that one of the main reasons why we are in the situation we're in is due to malfeasance, plain and simple. Over a decade of a contractor receiving about $100,000 a year for work that was, who knows whether it was done or not, 118 tires on a truck in about a 2.5-year period, and all the rest. There were decades of paying hundreds of thousands of dollars too much for healthcare administrative fees. We found that out when Sarah Picard was hired. And it continues to be overpayment for transportation. Here's a conservative estimate. I'm reading from our fact-finding report that we gave to the fact finder last round, and I'd like to leave a copy of it with you, Mrs. Finan, or Dr. Finan. Two PA Auditor Generals found overpayment ranging from 146.3% to 533.9%. The average 4-year overpayment is 303%. The increase in actual costs from 2007 to 2014, 79%. That 79% increase came after the years when there was a 533% of the state allowance payments. There have been no change in student population or fuel costs to justify this increase. The overpayment for 2007 through 2015 is likely $24 million. That would take a big chunk out of the debt that we are currently in, just on these 2 contracts, transportation contracts alone. And then there's a look at one of the transportation contracts, Article 15, says the number of buses required by the district may be reduced or increased at the sole discretion of the district. Nowhere in this contract does it say that the contractor has all the rights to bus all of our children. There's nowhere in there that it says that. I've asked this question a number of times. I don't know the answer. The question is, why can't we bid this contract out right now? 3 months ago, I believe we were at Armstrong, I asked that question, Madam President of the Board, you did ask Mr. Audie if we could look into that. I'm just wondering if 3 months later we have any answer on that.
We have looked into it, but I certainly can't discuss the legalities of it right now.
Okay. Here's a quote from Auditor General Dean Pasquale. In his October 2013 report, Auditor General Dean Pasquale said, "We continue to recommend that the district consider bidding transportation contracts while keeping the state's final formula allowance in mind. We also reiterate that each dollar that goes to a transportation contract that is many times over the state's final formula allowance is a dollar that is not going toward the education of the district students."
Thank you, Mr. Case. Ms. Rosemary Boland.
Good evening, directors. I think you've just heard a tremendous amount of information from the children in the Scranton School District, and I dare say that If we brought in 10,250 of our students, you would hear that multiplied over and over again. I don't have to tell any of you who live in this district, who may have gone to school in this district or sent your children to this district, the valuable resource that we are. We are a community, as our students just said, and as the teachers in this room feel and our paraprofessionals feel. Last week, several of you might have visited schools to read to the Children for Read Across America. I know I've done it, and I continue to do it. You know why? Because somebody sparked in me a love of reading. Wasn't always there, but somebody did that for me. I love to read. It seems I get stuck anymore reading law. Not my favorite thing, but it does seem to be a topic that I have to read. But I love to read. And I don't get a chance to do the kind of reading I'd like to be able to do. But these young people, they deserve to be able to read. I was at a meeting with our librarians where they were told they are academically unnecessary. That was crushing. To tell a librarian, some person who loves books and wants to share them with students and adults, you're academically unnecessary. Pashada that. Not true. I've heard percentages thrown around here tonight. I heard a parent stand up and say the Scranton School District does not know how to compute an average. That's amazing that our district doesn't have a machine that knows how to compute an average. When I was a kid at South Scranton, my homeroom teacher gave me all of her averages to compute for her. I went to the library, sat in the back room with paper and pencil and computed averages for my French teacher. If the machine can't do it, turn it back over to the teachers and we'll get the job done and it'll be done correctly and no kid will go without a scholarship. If you ever watched American Bandstand, you know how to compute an average. If it's a weighted score, we know how to weight scores and we know how to compute averages. Get rid of your machine. Get rid of any personnel that you're wasting money on and give us paper and pencil and we'll compute that average. We are the teachers who teach math. We're the teachers who teach English. We're the teachers who teach science, social studies, physical education, art, music, library science. Well, we used to be. Until we got slashed. You handed out 99 pink slips. PFM got up at a public meeting and stated that we'd probably close 3 schools, that we would move 5th grade students to middle schools. We would save money because we could eliminate 1 bus and 1 van. Is this some kind of joke? Is this some kind of fictional novel that we are heard such bombastic rhetoric? Is this a political nightmare cast on our children? Well, it stops here. The 900 of us won't put up with that. We are standing by our students. We're standing by the academics of the Scranton School District. And I suggest before you leave this building tonight, you take a walk out in that hallway out there and check out all of the students whose names are on the walls out there for their academic accomplishments in this school. Then take a walk over to West Scranton and see what you do. And I say walk because that's what you're telling the kids at Bancroft they're going to do. They're going to walk. Because in a district with 82% plus poverty, our children don't have automobiles. Their families can't afford them. They can't afford to take a bus. We have kids being told they have to walk from Valley View, Hilltop, Skytop in South Scranton to Scranton High School. What is this, the time of Lincoln? You're going to tell your children, I used to walk in the snow up to my rear end? Come on. Maybe the bus contractor should have popped in a free bus for those kids so they wouldn't have to dredge through that ice and snow that we all had to dig out of last week. Imagine walking from Valley View in South Scranton to this building and being on time. People don't even clean sidewalks. Did you ever walk down here where these facilities are located from this building? Try it. You have the kids doing it. If you're physically fit, let's see you do it. It's ice. They're walking miles to get to. Everybody would be disgusted to have to traverse that distance. We're cheating the children of this district. We're cheating the teachers in this district and the paraprofessionals in this district. We're cheating. And all of this, in my humble opinion, is politics. Politics. And you all know it, and I know it. Because the money we need is the money we should have. And the students deserve better than lip service. So let's get down to work. Stop telling people we're going to be able to eliminate a bus. One bus? Wow. One van. Grand. Are we going to get back the $800,000 from Mr. Sansky? Are we going to get back all of the money that he got free health care for? When my members pay for their health care, pay premiums, pay co-pays, and pay deductibles? Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Get that money back.
Yes.
That's over $2 million. Get it back. Every dime of it. Because my folks pay, he pays. I want to know which bargaining unit he's in, that he got health care from the Scranton School District. And I want to know who signed off on it. Because I know with my job how much I have to deal with that. I know that I get called from my members to say certain of their bills haven't been paid or their prescription was denied to them. Who denied him?
Ms. Bowen, your time is up.
Oh, I think my time isn't up. I will be insubordinate because I'm ticked off, and I wish all 9 of you would get ticked off. Enough. I want to see change. Real change, not lip service change. Let's get hunkering down around here. And let's figure out what all those percents Kevin just told you mean. You paid over $24 million to that man. Why? Produce the signed contract. The real honest-to-God contract with the real honest-to-God signatures. And I want to see the surcharge, the 4% surcharge that was paid. I want to see the signatures on those sheets. So you have 500 lawyers on your team. Get those 500 lawyers in that ad building and you find those contracts. And this union is going to file right to nose until hell freezes over, until we see those signatures.
In show business, that's known as a hard act to follow. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak, Dr. Finan. I loved watching your face with those children. We are in great hands. Anyone who can relate so quickly and so immediately to kids, thank you. I feel my father was a fighter pilot. In World War II, he got shot down in the middle of the desert in West Africa. Irrelevant story except for one thing. He survived by telling himself all the time, it doesn't matter how I got here. I should have gone left when I went right. I should have gone high when I went low. That's irrelevant. Here I am, I got to get out of here. And to some extent that mirrors where we are at the moment. I agree with Rosemary. We do need to look back. We need to look back to see how we got into this mess. But the priority at the moment has to be not focusing on who did what to who and who did what. There is a need for that. There is a great nod of that, but there are a lot of people working on that. What my feeling is that we need to look forward and find the path forward that works for the only people who truly matter in this, and those are the 10,250 kids in our district. And included in that, the next priority has to be the teachers who are being squeezed from both sides. More kids in the class, less time to work, less facilities, less specials, and all of that. The kids deserve the best we can give them, and the best we can give them is teachers who are well served as well. If those two priorities aren't met, then what are we here for? There is absolutely no reason for school buildings or administrations or administrators or people who do this, who do people and that, if we are not looking after those children. PFM, I don't know what role PFM has now or anymore, and that is part of what I wanted to ask. Now that we have a recovery officer, what are the roles of PFM? What are the roles and responsibilities left to the board? What are the roles and responsibilities of everyone involved in what I hope is a unified goal, moving towards the future? We're going to need rationalisation. Yes, there are going to be cuts that hurt, but those cuts have to be made rationally. If closures are necessary, it seems to make more sense to defy Newton's third law of thermodynamics, not have the hot and the cold meet in the middle. Take the cold up to the hot schools, the A+ schools. Let's make sure as we make the cuts that we need to and do all this, we lift everybody, not push everybody down and meet in the middle. There's going to be pain. Of course there's going to be pain. But what we have to keep in mind is that for every ounce of pain, there has to be a ton of gain. We can't shortchange the future to just to pay for the bad decisions.
Your time if you could just finish up.
Okay, I will. The other last thing I want to say, and again it's my theme, transparency. Tonight we're talking about the school board book of rules, and I gather it's going to be adopted. Where is it? What is it? Can it be posted on the board? Is this not something that the general public has a right to know? Questions. Please can we get answers to questions? And finally, thank you for letting me sound off.
Dr. Finan, can you explain the role of PFM as we move forward?
Sure. PFM will still remain as a consulting role as they have in the past. They're still collecting data, analyzing data. They'll continue in their present role. They will be one of, there are a number of resources from the Department of Education. They're one of them. They will continue until the plan is completely finished.
And the,
They're doing a lot of data analysis at this point.
And the book of rules is online in board docs under board policies. If you pull up board policies, board operating procedures, and scroll right to the bottom, the book of rules is there.
May I just offer a little more clarity on that, because it can be a little bit hard to navigate. It is on the district website, scrsd.org, under community, I believe, correct? Community, and then board policies, and then you can see, you can search them, that's how I find all my stuff, that it is there, but you just have to know where you're looking.
Thank you.
Sure. Did we answer the role of the board? I believe that was one of the questions. Ro, did you ask about the role of the board?
Dr. Finan, the role of the board.
The role of the board, that was part of her question.
The role of the board will approve the final document. So they will have input into that document all the way along. We talked tonight a little bit about gathering input. They will also have members on the advisory committee to sit and discuss all the items that we'll be discussing, so they will have a role in that. Oh, good question. Normal decisions like tonight? Yes, they will. They will. Okay. The plan is, as you talked about, a path moving forward. It will be a path moving forward, but it will be from where we are at that point in time moving forward, 3 to 5 years moving forward.
Does that help? You're welcome. Ty Holmes?
May I just add one thing? I don't replace the board. I'm not here to replace the board or replace the superintendent. I'm just here to help take all the data, help write a plan, move that plan forward through committees, reach out. I'll be visiting schools and talking to a number of people. But just so you know, I don't replace it. If for some reason that plan weren't adopted, then there's another step beyond me, which may include replacing the board at that point. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ty Holmes, and I'm a proud husband of an incredible SFT teacher. I spent 25 years in the U.S. military. I owe a great deal of my success in uniform to teachers. They gave me the tools to be successful. They taught me how to read, write, and most importantly, the ability to take words and put them in appropriate action. That action allowed me to be successful as managing a multi-million-dollar military school budget for 4 consecutive years with 0 loss. I have a couple of questions I'd like you to consider, even though Dr. Finan has addressed this. Have you conducted a thorough study of the ramifications of closing any of the schools within a district? Studies have shown the Scranton population is growing. So in 3 years, we have a space crisis. For example, Bancroft Elementary School, the district's first blue ribbon school. Have you taken into account the new Lace complex that is phase 1 set to open up in October 2019 with 58 new residents? And the final 3 phases will be completed shortly thereafter. Is there a plan, a long-term plan, to take care of the children that are going to that school? Transportation. Have you done the numbers and factored in the additional costs of transporting those kids to other schools? Not to mention, do other schools even have the room or the classrooms like Bancroft overcrowded already? A large number of parents in the school district don't drive. How will this affect them in truancy? Also, will the buildings be sold? If not, how long will it take to sell them? Because you still have to pay to maintain them. Or will they sit empty and unoccupied and unused like Lincoln Jackson for the last 10 years? Has anyone calculated what that has cost taxpayers? Why are the administrators still receiving their annual pay raises? Why are they currently looking to hire more administrators while considering closing buildings? Are you pre-acting or reacting in your decision making to the years of financial abuse within the district? You have to ask yourselves, are you putting a Band-Aid on a larger problem to make progress, to make it look like you made progress? In my 25 years in uniform, I've learned a couple of things. The problems of this country and the world will not be solved by someone carrying a weapon. It will be solved through education, because education teaches traits like compassion, teamwork, love, and support. That makes teachers the gatekeepers of our future and the world's success. Don't they deserve every single tool possible to help educate, protect, and guide the future leaders of our nation? And I want to say thank you to all the Scranton SFT teachers and paraprofessionals. You are appreciated. Even though you don't hear it enough, we do appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you. Jim McGough? Okay. Mary Delmar?
That's also a very tough act to follow. Thank you, Mr. Holmes, for that. Thank you very much. Good evening, board, faculty, friends, and my name is Mary Delmar. I am a Title I reading specialist at William Prescott Elementary School. I probably should speak quickly because I had several things to say. I'll try to stick to the script. First, I'd like to I'm lamenting the loss of the librarians today on this anniversary of Dr. Seuss. For many years, our school, Prescott, was always invited to Scranton High School, and the librarians put on a very nice educational program that celebrated the life of Dr. Seuss and had the students involved, and it's just a shame we really missed that, along with missing our libraries and the accelerated reader programs, and that's besides the point. Mostly I'm here, first of all, to speak as a teacher at William Prescott Elementary School. I'm also a resident of Scranton. I went to Scranton Public Schools, McNichols Plaza, all the way through to Scranton Central, which is no longer a school. I want to talk about the findings from PFM and the suggestion that not only our building, but 2 other buildings in the same neighborhood be closed. I find that absurd. I believe the day that they came to Prescott, we had 297 students of our 300 student capacity. That means that there was 13 spaces open, and that's continuous at my building. It is rare that we do not have, we're not at our maximum capacity. We often have to have classes that go over and have to have a paraprofessional in for the year. We don't have the room to split the classes. Yes, the building is a bit old, but it's still very functional and it's very well kept. All 3 of these schools have been blue ribbon schools in the past. We're all making great growth and progress. Prescott has some of the highest scores in the entire district. All 3 schools, yet again, are in that same neighborhood. They're close. I mean, Bancroft's a little bit further away, but you're literally talking about shutting down an entire quadrant of the city. In fact, we're still suffering from the time when you shut down Audubon School a few years ago, and we're still dealing with the influx of students from that, which was also in the Hill section. In addition, I think some other people have touched on the fact that, moving, where will all of these students go? Even if you're to move the 5th graders to the intermediate schools, the busing costs alone are going to outweigh probably a lot of the savings. Not only that, what if 5th graders, I know, and with 8th graders, it just seems to be maybe not the most viable of plans. So I really hope that you'll consider and start to think about some other options. I'm sorry, I'm just looking here. Some other alternatives. I don't know how many times the bus contract being out to bid has to be mentioned, including, by the, not only Mr. Kays, but the district attorney. Maybe we can look at, this is probably not going to be a popular option, consolidating to 1 sports team. I mean, why can't we just have, we can still keep the same amount of coaches. It might save on how many times we have to use the stadium. How many times we have to bus the kids to other districts. What about some reductions in principals? There are now elementary schools with 2 principals. In my time, that was never. When they were reconstructing the school I used to work at, Kennedy, my principal, I'm also a member of the union, so can I have 1 more minute? I'm on the board. My principal had to travel between 3 buildings. I'm not suggesting that that's the best plan on a daily basis. In fact, just today, every day there's situations at the school where we require, assistance. However, it's a possibility to look at the schools that have 2. Maybe they can be reduced. The high schools, 3 principals? I mean, anyway, I am also a member of Title I, and I would just like to quickly say, I also have a lot of concerns about our Title I program. Since our former, we had a director and secretary retire at the same time, I feel like you took shortcuts in replacing that job. And taking the salary, which was probably an administrative salary, I'm sure it was in the $100,000 range, and cutting it back, not really looking for someone within the program that had some experience. We hired someone who I would think was a former librarian. In the meantime, we are now looking at going to a district-wide program. As I think Suzanne Fury said, there's no communication. We've not had a single meeting amongst all of us in the Title I faculty to discuss this. Maybe there are benefits to it. We wouldn't know. I can't really tell you how it's going to affect us because we haven't been informed. Not only that, last year I was sent to a creditor because we were not paying the bills. So now we have a new system, and now I can't even get materials. So on one hand, I'm being told by the state, that we need to have more parent and family engagement, yet I can't even get my hands on the materials.
Your additional minute has wrap up, please.
In return, I just really hope that you'll take some time to think about some other considerations. And lastly, the fact that someone thinks that class size is another issue that we have. You should be in a classroom with 27 kindergartners, because that's what we have. And don't tell me that other schools, because right now, Abington Heights, parents are furious, and they're busing children to another school to avoid going over 20 students.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes our public comment section of the agenda.
Mrs. Dixon, the PSBA report is not on the agenda.
It's not.
Can certainly.
Can we do that now?
I'm happy to.
I think we. PSBA report now?
Would we need a motion to amend the agenda?
No.
force myself onto the agenda. You don't worry about it, it's perfectly fine, thank you. I do have a few PSBA housekeeping items, but you'll see behind me, well, you did see behind me, there was a screen up earlier with information from the PA Schools Work symposium, for lack of a better word, that Director McAndrew and I attended and that Mr. Duffy has been working on as well. And at the end of the table here by the WNEP microphone, there are postcards. And we were encouraged to ask all of you, they suggested doing it at a board meeting, to write a quick note on that postcard to our legislators. And if we can get that information back up, you all know there's Senator John Blake, Representative Marty Flynn, Representative Kyle Mullins. Those are our guys, and I guess we'll have somebody new shortly in the 114th district as well. But just a few lines about why you support adequate and equitable funding for our public schools. If you wouldn't mind doing that, you can certainly take it with you. If we can get that information back up, it can be mailed, or you can turn it back into Mrs. Orr, and we'll be happy to even hand deliver them to the offices. One of the great points that they made at the forum was about contacting our Republican representatives as well, and there are two. I believe it's the 117th and 139th district in Lackawanna County. Representative Pfeiffer, and that's on the next page, Representative Pfeiffer and Representative Boback, and encouraging them as well. I believe Representative Boback is informed on this issue. I don't know about Mr. Pfeiffer, but encouraging them to encourage their peers as well to get on board with this issue. So if you live in one of those areas or know someone who does, please take the time to write a few lines or to pen your own letter later and get it sent off. I also included on there my email address, which you all know is katie.gilmartin@ssdedu.org. Susan Spica from PA Schools Work provided me with a template for a letter to the editor, and I would be happy to share that with anyone who wanted to get in touch. You're nodding your head. I'll send it along to you. I bet you're into that. So the more the merrier, and just, we know our representatives are fighting for this, but any bit of information they have to take along to their peers and really back up the argument is important, and we'll continue working on this. Mr. Duffy and I and Dr. Kirian have talked about, and we talked about it with Dr. Finan this evening, have talked about engaging some of our leaders and having some roundtable discussions, maybe doing things for the broader community, doing things that are a little bit more really putting the pressure on them face-to-face, one-on-one, but we need all of you to get behind that as well. And please visit the PA Schools Work website, like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, really share those things. There's a lot of information coming through. It is a bipartisan effort, and they're really getting their message out there. There is data. The information on the previous page is available on their website specific to our district. You'll notice that even this evening we're talking about 10,250 students. Their information is a little bit outdated, so I think they keep adding to that, and it also drives home the point that we are growing. So please get on board with all of that and continue to share it on your own social media and support those efforts. Quickly, some of the other PSBA items. There is a Senate Bill 34 and House Bill 526. They seem to be working together about cyber charter school tuition, requiring a family to pay out-of-pocket tuition to attend a cyber charter school if their home district offers a cyber-based program equal in scope and content. And that certainly seems to be an initiative that is growing in our district, and I think we will keep an eye on these two bills, and perhaps, I know we passed a resolution in support of a bill last year, and perhaps that's something that's appropriate for us down the road here as well. Advocacy Day is on April 29th from 8:30 to 5 p.m. I think that's a Monday, which isn't really the greatest scheduling, but I guess that's when they're at work too. So I certainly hope some of my colleagues might be able to come, and any community members who might be able to make themselves available during the workday. On our side of things, There is the spring legal roundup on March 21st from 1:30 to 5 at the Westside CTC in Kingston, and I believe that's also the rescheduled board president's panel. The PSBA is also seeking PIAA representatives, school board members to serve that entity, and there is an application on the PSBA website. It is a quarterly conference call and an annual in-person meeting, and the applications are due 4 p.m. on March 15th, so if anybody is interested in that, please do look into it. And also available on the PSBA website is the 2019 State of Education report, so I'd encourage any and all to take a look at that. And that's all I have for my PSBA report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to have a motion to accept the consent agenda, unless anybody wants to pull any of these items out prior to.
As we have new information in front of us, could we pull the personnel report, please? Just to make sure everybody's looking at that closely.
F1.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's pulling out F1. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda minus F1? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Vogel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
8 affirmative.
That's consent. Okay, so now Director Popel, B8, approving the TCC appointments. We have a blank here.
There should not be a blank there. It was, we were adding Mr. Schuster.
No, they are blank.
They are blank.
For the TCC committee?
B8. We have the primary delegate, which is blank, the first alternate delegate, and the second alternate.
Okay, Mr. Laffey, can you name the members who were on with you that we pulled you and added Mr. Schuster?
So who's the primary?
Yes, good evening. I believe the primary at the time was Mr. Popel, followed by Mr. Patel, and then it was myself. That's what was presented at the last meeting, I believe, when the resolution was pulled.
So that's why you have the blank, because Mr. Patel resigned. So it's Mr. Popel, Mr. Schuster.
As the first alternate, Mr. Schuster? Okay.
And then we can add back Mr. Laffey if you prefer. If you
You're
would
the
agree.
second alternate?
Yeah, prior to this year, I performed as the second alternate for the last couple appointments.
Okay, so we have this all clear. We're appointing Mr. Popel as the primary delegate, Mr. Schuster as the first alternate delegate, and Mr. Lappy as the second alternate.
That's right.
Okay? Do we just read that amendment as is then?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Your show.
Okay, to the members of the Scranton Board of School Board of Directors, the Superintendent of Schools and the Budget Finance Committee present the following resolution for your consideration. Whereas Act 327-505B requires the bodies of school districts, townships, boroughs, and cities to appoint voting delegates and one or more alternate delegates to serve as their tax collection committee.
Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Vogel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
8 affirmative.
Okay, B9, to the members of the Board of Directors of the Scranton School District, the Superintendent of Schools, and the Budget and Finance Committee present the following resolution for your consideration. Whereas the School District of the City of Scranton owns the following vacant properties: Lincoln Jackson Elementary School, Samuel Morris School Lot, and whereas the School District of the City of Scranton has an interest in selling these properties, and whereas the district has received the proposal for the appraisal of the Lincoln Jackson of $1,500 and Samuel Morris Lot of $1,200 from Heineken Real Estate Company, therefore be it resolved, the School District of the City of Scranton does hereby approve Heineken Real Estate Company to conduct appraisals on the properties and the above cost respectfully submitted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Mr. Lush?
No.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Vogel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
7 affirmative, 1 negative, motion passes.
Yeah, members of the Board of School Directors of the City of Scranton, it is the recommendation of the superintendent and the Budget and Finance Committee that the following resolution be approved. Whereas the Scranton School District has heretofore issued $5,625,000 original aggregate principal amount federally taxable general obligation note Series A of 2016 and its $2,830,000 original aggregate principal amount federal taxable general obligation bond Series B of 2016, collectively the notes, pursuant to the resolution of the school district adopted on September 15, 2015. Therefore be resolved, the Scranton School Board hereby approves the remarketing of the notes per the attached. Respectfully submitted.
Second.
On the question?
No question, Mr. Magic, can you just get
I'm gonna ask Mike Vinn from Financial Solutions to speak about that a little bit.
Good evening, everyone. As we spoke about at the meeting on the 25th, we wanted to provide you a updated, not to exceed fee schedule, which has been attached, I believe, Pat, you sent that around several days ago. This again is just the remarketing of your outstanding 2016 notes. They are due in June of this year. If we do not remarket them before that, the interest rate increases from 4.125% to 10%, unless we remarket these. Given the current market rates, we feel that we're not going to go above where we currently are. But that 10% increase from 4.125 equates to approximately $510,000 of additional interest per year. So this is just one of those, because those 16 notes were issued in this type of term, we do need to do this remarketing in order to avoid that penalty of the max interest rate.
Alright, so, and all these fees are not to exceed,
That is correct.
and they're all comparable?
Yes, we went through and actually went through every single one of those professionals and tried to get them down as low as possible. This is, if you looked at the last remarketing bid, although it be a larger issue, there's still the exact same amount of work that needs to be done. And those fees all were reduced, I believe, by a total of approximately $52,000 from last year's issuance. So we definitely did try to go through and be as prudent as possible and make sure that everyone was sharpening their pencil to get this done in the most beneficial economic beneficial process for the school board and the district.
Anyone else? Thank you.
This is just what you told us. This is again just what you told us.
Yes, at the meeting on the 25th. That's absolutely correct. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Roll call?
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Vogel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
Ada Furman?
Okay, we have a question on B11, Mr. Audi, Attorney Audi. We have blanks again.
That's because the board will now vote on the board appointments from the board and the principal to be their recommendations for the committee. So, Ms. Orr, would you please tell the board who applied and in the order of they applied, how they applied?
Pardon me, I don't have that resolution. My next resolution is about the NEIU.
This resolution was pulled from the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
consent agenda.
I apologize. Sorry. Thank you. Yep, I've got it. Sorry.
Prior to the start of this, I know there's not a real way to go about this, but maybe Ms. Feynman, if you could, or Dr. Feynman, if you could, I don't know where we're going with this, if we're just.
I'll explain, and then Dr. Feynman, if you would answer the question. So the board is to not appoint 2 board members to the Financial Recovery Committee. 4 board members have applied or have sent a letter of interest, which you have seen. Now they have to make a decision from those 4, which 2 will represent them. So they were, the process we were going to use prior to the question was Ms. Orr was going to present to the board the order of which the letters of interest came in, and in that order ask the board to vote and on those persons they would like to represent them. So the 2 persons with the most votes would be the persons representing the board. That was the process.
Okay.
Doctor, if I may, I apologize.
Sure.
I know that I have a question before, maybe you could put this into your response as well. We have 4 board members, which is less than a quorum, that applied. And we also have only 2 principals. It's not like we have 14 principals and 8 board members apply. Is there a possibility to allow all people that applied, being that the number is so minimal, to all be appointed to the board?
You know, I can't do that. We have to follow the law. And I did check prior to this meeting as to whether or not we could add additional members to it, but the law is very specific. So perhaps after I did speak with you in executive session and explain, hopefully I did a decent job explaining what the role would be. This advisory committee would be, we will meet monthly, that's the requirement. Our first meeting will be Wednesday from 6 to 7. It is a public meeting. We will be meeting in that classroom on floor 2 of the administration building. The purpose of that committee is to gather information to help provide input into the plan. I took a lot of notes tonight. I heard a lot of things here that will also be part of what we will be discussing. So based on what I said earlier and the obligation, I think you need to decide who wants to be part of that. We will focus a lot on finances. That's where we need to focus the plan on recovery. So maybe you're more one is more interested than the other in the financial piece. There were also 2 principals. You get to choose one. It's your choice. I don't have a choice. I get to run the meeting. That's what the law says. It's your decision as to who you put on that committee.
So, Dr. Feynman, would you agree that the process that was just outlined would be a process that would be acceptable?
Sure. If that's your process, then use your process. That's kind of what you've done in the past.
That's what they do for other positions.
Sure. That's acceptable.
Thank you.
So we're doing the principal
was Director Gilmartin. I'm sorry if I'm confused. Take a vote, or you want me to give you the list? The list?
Give us the list first,
Okay.
then we'll vote.
Director Gilmartin, Director Popel, Director Dixon, and Director Schuster. It was in that order.
And the principals?
The principals were Mr. Doherty and then Mr. O'Donnell. And we only have one business official that.
May we hear the letters?
The letters were shared in your packets over the weekend, so you all have what everyone submitted.
Right, but, I mean, can we share that, and just in case, can we share it with the group, and just in case anybody missed it, or is that possible?
That would be your decision, if that's what you would prefer to do.
So would you like me to read your entire letter, Ms. Gilmartin?
Please. Well, I mean, is there any reason why we?
Well, you're appointing.
Right.
This is your appointment. So the people who should have had the information to make a decision on appointments would be the sitting board members. That information at the work session, we explained that would be sent to you in the board packets at closing of the nominations. So that's as a board, that's your decision if you want Ms. Orr to read each of the letters that have been submitted.
I'm in favor of that, if anyone agrees or disagrees, or.
We did discuss at the work session that this was gonna be an open forum to pick these individuals, so I'm fine with it.
I think I did my due diligence and read before I came here, so I don't know why we need to redo it. Well, I mean, we can release the letters, I got that, but you know. Okay. That's fine, if you want to.
Why don't we have a vote, on a motion to.
I make a motion to read the letters of each of the 4 board candidates aloud at this time.
On the question? Roll call.
Mr. Popel?
No.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
No.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lesh?
No.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yeah, yes, I have, yes.
We can release these on the district website, I mean, they're public documents.
Correct.
Vote is made.
The vote has.
Okay, hold on.
Ms. Orr, the vote has been taken.
Correct.
What is your?
5 affirmative, 3 negative, motion passes.
Thank you.
Are we starting with the principal since that's the first blank? That's my question.
I don't know that the principals have agreed to have their letters published, frankly. It was an internal process. It's an internal process. That would be like, I understand that under the right to know laws, applications are not necessarily public documents. I would feel more comfortable just sharing the letters of the board members because all of them are here and consented to it.
Okay.
I don't agree that we should at
I'm
this
just
point.
asking for direction here.
Right,
because
I
we
think
vote by
we should
the
just do
blank.
this for the board members.
Okay, should we vote on the principal first and then do the board members? Are we
Let's
going-
get that done, yes.
The principals?
Read the resolution for the principal.
The recommendation of the superintendent and the budget and finance committee is the following resolution. Whereas the chief recovery officer, Scranton School Board, Scranton School Board of Education and Northeastern Educational Unit, Unit number 19, have invited individuals interested in serving on the financial
wanna do this in one reading, then you should probably read the letters first,
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
and then take a vote on both the principals and the board.
Okay, perfect, that's what I'm asking. Okay,
So I'm reading the board members and the principals, or not?
Not the principals, just the board members.
I apologize. Sure.
And Ms. Sawyer, you're going to read them in the order you received them, okay?
Correct.
Thank you.
Mrs. Orr, please accept this letter as an indication of my interest in serving on the Financial Recovery Advisory Committee. I have the utmost confidence in Dr. Feinen's leadership and would like the opportunity to support her efforts in any way possible. As quoted in the Scranton Times, I agree with Dr. Feinen that this is about the community. I believe this plan requires a great deal of input, not only from educational experts and community leaders, but from interested citizens as well. Dr. Feinen will guide us in the how, but we must reach our constituents to discover the what. What kind of education do we value? What opportunities do we want to provide to our students? And in what kind of community do we want to live? From the moment our district was placed in financial recovery, I have said time and again that I believe communication is paramount to our success. Honesty, transparency, and open-mindedness are the key values on which each member of the committee must focus. We must lay all options on the table and consider the long-term effects of our decisions without emotion. We must focus on innovation, sustainability, and hope. I was afforded the opportunity to serve on the Scranton School Board because I connected with this community. I have been true to my word. I have listened, I have learned, and I have strived to achieve change and strengthen our district through policy. We are at a crossroads, and I believe we must bring parties to the table who will serve with integrity, optimism, and a critical eye to the future. While we must be frugal in allocating our resources, we must remember our mission to educate, inspire, and empower students. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely yours, Katie Gilmartin. Director Popel, I feel that my professional experience of 35 years auditing school districts and my current position as chairman of the Budget and Finance Committee qualify me for the above-mentioned position. If appointed, I would do my best to represent the interests of the children, taxpayers, and the Scranton School Board. Director Dixon. The purpose of this letter is to ask for consideration for the position of the school board representative for the Financial Recovery Advisory Committee. My experience from the classroom to the boardroom provide great insight related to the goals of this committee. As a seasoned educator, vice principal, and current president of the school board, I feel very confident representing the board in this capacity. I have participated in both the internal and external roles of the stakeholders of this community, taxpayer, business, and accounting member, and I truly understand the sense of urgency we face to bring the Scranton School District to financial solvency. Having balanced large school budgets, I understand balancing finances to meet the diverse educational needs of the students. My background is as follows: West Scranton High School graduate, Bachelor of Science degree in Education, Marywood College, certifications in business, marketing, and accounting, 18 years teaching experience in business and accounting education in Scranton School District, Master's in School Leadership, Marywood University, certification school administrator K through 12, 2 years experience as assistant principal in Scranton School District, 10 years experience as principal in Scranton School District. I humbly ask for your vote in representing the school board in this role. Respectfully yours, Barb Dixon. And Mr. Schuster. I'm writing this letter in regards to the board selection for the Financial Recovery Advisory Committee. I would like the board to consider my appointment to the committee for the obvious reasons of my concern for the Scranton School District. The financial situation of the district has always been my top concern. I was elected in 2015 and have served on the board for the last 4 years. I was budget and finance chairman and served on this committee for 2 years of my service. I have a voting record to stand on when it comes to financial decisions. I was one of the authors of the school district board proposal to the governor's team 2 years ago seeking additional state funding. I feel that I would be an appropriate fit for this advisory committee. Sincerely, Tom Schuster. Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Northwick?
No.
Mr. Duffy?
No.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lesh?
No.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Popel? Mrs. Dixon?
No.
3 affirmative, 5 negative, motion fails.
Now we do the same thing for Director Pope.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
No.
Mr. Lesh?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
No.
Mr. Popel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster? Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
5 affirmative, 3 negative, motion passes. A vote for Mrs. Dixon now? Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
No.
Mr. Lesh?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew? Mr. Popel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
No.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
5 affirmative, 3 negative, motion passes. Now the principal. For Mr. Doherty. We have 2, so. I'm sorry, this is for Mr. Doherty, correct? Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lesh?
No.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Popel?
No.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
No.
Mrs. Dixon?
No.
4-4, motion fails.
That's correct. That's correct.
Fails on a tie.
Mr. O'Donnell? Mr. Lesh?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Popel?
Yes.
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
8 affirmative.
So if I may, have a resolution, the Scranton School Board, will vote to appoint the following individuals: Pat Laffey, Business Manager; Mr. Al O'Donnell, Principal. School Board Member 1, Mr. Popel. School Board Member 2, Mr. Schuster.
Dixon.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, that was Mrs. Dixon. I apologize.
Now we have B12.
Yes, now on B12, you have blanks. I will,
On the resolution.
Well, the whole resolution, everybody on there has been voted on. So
That's it.
I think the resolution passed as voted on. Otherwise, we'd be voting on them twice.
I was looking if there was an other question.
I think there was another question.
he did.
Yes, I did ask if there was, asked with the resolution in general.
So if we move to B11, then, I'm sorry, B12, you have all blanks, correct?
Yes.
All right, so, School Board Member 1, Mr. Popel. School Board Member 2, Mrs. Dixon. Business Manager, Pat Laffey. Principal, Mr. Al O'Donnell. SFT Appointed Teacher, that was submitted, Rosemary Boland. NEIU Appointed Community Member 1, Gus Fahey. Augustine or Gus Fahey. He is a parent of children at Prescott. Fahey. Augustine. Community Member 2. Are you ready? Pedro Anes, A-N-E-S. Superintendent of adjoining district, Michael Mahan. Special Education Advocate, Roseanne Polishan. Charter School Representative, Michael Waller. NEI Director, Robert McTiernan.
Okay, so now,
Do you have to read the resolution with all the names?
yes, you should have a, yes.
Members of the Board of School Directors of the City of Scranton, it is the recommendation of the Superintendent and the Budget and Finance Committee the following resolution be approved. Whereas the Chief Recovery Officer of the Scranton School Board of Education of the Northeastern Educational Unit number 19 have invited individuals interested in serving on the Financial Recovery Advisory Committee and to apply, and whereas the sole purpose of the advisory committee is to provide recommendations and feedback to the Chief Recovery Officer on the development and implementation of the Scranton School District Financial Recovery Plan, and whereas the members of the advisory committee will include the following: Superintendent of the school district, Dr. Alexis T. Kirian, School Board Member 1, Greg Copel, School Board Member 2, Barbara Dixon, Business Manager Pat Laffey, Principal Al O'Donnell, SFT appointments, Rosemary Boland, NEIU appointment, committee member number 1, Augustine Fahey.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, community member number 2, Pedro A. Anis, superintendent of adjoining district, Michael Mahan, special education advocate, Roseanne Polishan, charter school representative, Michael Waller, and NEIU director, Robert McTiernan. Therefore be resolved that the Scranton School Board of Education approves the above mentioned members of the Financial Recovery Act Committee respectfully submitted.
On the question?
I have nothing but the utmost faith in the people appointed by the NEIU. Mr. Waller is the only person I do not know I know Ms. Boland will represent the SFT very well. Mr. O'Donnell is a talented principal. I will be voting no this evening, but and Mr. Laffey as well, but it most certainly is not because I have concerns about many of the individuals on this page.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Waller is from the Howard Gardner School.
Okay,
He's their business manager.
And these truly are people I got to know over the course of my campaign in talking with Mr. Fahey about United Neighborhood Centers and Mr. Anez about his work in the Latino community, Mr. McTiernan and his vast knowledge of all facets of education, and Mrs. Polishin, I was at several special education advocacy meetings with her as well. So Mr. Waller is just the only person I don't know personally.
I would also like to...
Oh, and Mr. Mahan was my science teacher.
I would also like to echo what Director Gilmartin said. I will be voting yes to this because I'd like to move us forward and push this forward. But when it comes to board member selection, I think one of the members here is an appointed member, and I think the voters of the city of Scranton spoke, and I think it should be elected board members appointed to this committee.
Since there were lots of groans in the audience, it's important, I think, for public servants such as myself to explain why I vote the way I vote, and I'll just let you know my mentality about supporting Mrs. Dixon and Mr. Popel. I believed, as Chair of Budget and Finance, it only makes sense to have that position be represented on this committee because finances are obviously the main focus of our problems. And the reason for my support of Mrs. Dixon has to do with the necessity of having somebody with a strong educational background, and especially with public schools involved. So those are the reasons for my vote and why I'll be voting yes.
Roll call.
Mr. Lesh?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew? Mr. Coleman? Mr. Schuster? Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy? Ms. Gilmartin?
No.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
7 affirmative, 1 negative, motion passes.
Director Duffy?
Members of the Board of School Directors of the City of Scranton, is the recommendation of the Superintendent and the Community Relations Committee that the following resolution is approved. Be it resolved, due to the resignation of Director Robert Casey, the Scranton School Board of Directors hereby designates blank as the representative to the NEIU effective immediately through June 30th, 2019.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Director Schuster to this position.
I think we had 2 interested. We did that at the work session.
We said we would vote on both.
And you would vote on both. So that we had Mr. Popel and Mr. Schuster.
Do we have a second?
You have to do both, right?
You made a motion, right?
Yes, for Mr. Schuster.
Do we need another question on this? Roll call?
Mr. McAndrew? Yes. Mr. Popel?
Wait, who are we voting for?
Mr. Schuster.
We're voting on
We're
Mr.
starting with Mr. Schuster.
That was the motion
Okay,
I made.
fine.
Mr. McAndrew seconded.
That's fine. I just want to be clear.
Thank you.
Mr.
Start
Popel?
over, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Don't change your vote.
Mr. Popel?
Yes, so we're voting on, no.
And Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
No.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
Yes.
Mr. Lesh?
No.
Mrs. Dixon?
No.
4-4, motion fails.
So like the previous resolution that we just did, I was the special education chair, which in the past, the special education chair did sit on the NEIU board, and I do have a background in psychology, behavioral analysis, and I'm in the special education field.
Yes.
The vote's been done. I know.
Oh, my.
Can you go on with Mr. Pope, please?
Oh, jeez. Arrogant son of a...
Do we have a motion for Mr. Popel?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
On the question?
Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Gilmartin?
No.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew? Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
5 affirmative, 3 negative, motion passes.
We didn't we pull one out of education? What was the personnel? F1. That would be you, Director. F2. Where are we?
That was F1 that was pulled.
F1 was pulled.
Was it
Personnel
Did we
committee.
pull F1 or F2?
F1 was pulled, and that's Mr. Paul.
We have F1 and then G2.
Okay, so Director Borthwick, you're going to do F1?
It's a personnel committee issue. That's Mr. Pope, I believe. Or it has
No,
his
that's
name on it. Okay, all right, that's fine. So to the members of the Board of Directors of the City of Scranton, it's recommended of the Personnel Committee that the attached list of appointments, assignments, resignations, leaves of absence, and professional contracts is approved. Appointments are effective upon receipt of proper criminal records, immigration, and medical and child abuse reports. Salaries are in accordance with the collective bargaining agreements. Respectfully submitted, John Worth, the Personnel Committee.
Second.
On the question?
On the question with the financial recovery officer here, I would just like to go further with the cost out of these positions before we get to hire.
What positions? The positions you already approved to, and the people have been interviewed and offered,
Yeah,
will be offered.
that's what he wants.
Dr. Fine, I don't know if you have enough information on this. I can have Ms. Baddock please come up and address why we have a need to hire the special education staff, and then Mr. Gaynor, if you would come forward and explain all of the other hires on the list.
Hello, good evening. This is a surprise. I'll do my best. As had been presented multiple times over the past several months and was recommended by the Department of Education, we had classrooms where the caseloads were too large. We have classrooms that actually went over state guidelines for the size of students serviced in those classrooms with special education needs, and there was a demonstrated need to hire 12 teachers. We did, in fact, interview Mr. Gaynor, 23 applicants, I believe we interviewed. And we, 2 of the positions that are on that list are positions that were vacated by staff that were already working in the district. So there were 12 new hires and then 2 replacement positions. But they were all positions that were presented and approved by the board.
These are the same positions that were presented at the work session.
Correct, yes.
And these, again, are recommended by the state?
Yes, the state came in.
If we didn't hire these people, we would be out of compliance, am I correct?
In several classrooms, we would be out of compliance, and in several others, we were at a threshold where we couldn't put anyone else in the classrooms, which means any student coming into the district would be displaced, and we'd have to pay to put them elsewhere.
Okay, and then we could, if we did not hire, the district would face losing funding, am I correct?
Correct, we could lose federal funding, correct.
And a substantial amount, am I correct?
Yeah, I think every dollar here is substantial these days.
Thank you, that's quite true.
And these, Mr. Gaynor, are being hired according to the SFT contract?
The teachers, yes. We exhausted our 2017 eligibility list, and we interviewed, I believe, 17 others. So the other names came off of the new interviews that we did. You'll notice there's 13 special ed on here. There will be one next meeting. There's one that's not on here. The reason there's 14, it's the 12 new positions and filling 2 people that left.
Is there a reason that all 13 are indicated as new positions?
No, there's probably one should be a replacement. There was 2 replacements, 12 new, 2 replacements.
Okay. So
There's a lot of movement around. bidding and stuff.
One of these X's
One of
is
these-
just in the
right,
wrong.
there's 14 total, 12 new to
column.
replace.
Okay. That was my confusion here, thank you.
Is there any special education required?
We don't.
We don't answer
Okay.
the people in the crowd.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And you'll see that the custodial positions are replacements. And we have a mandatory contract number that we have to meet there, and these replacements will keep us in line with the contract. And coaching speaks for itself. The two crisis counselors we spoke to you about, that we knew those, and the math teacher is a replacement also.
And the chief school nurse?
Chief school nurse, we addressed the board, that is an existing nurse on staff that is paid a stipend for extra duties.
Again, these were all presented at the work session.
These were all presented at the work session, and Mr. Lafayette knew they're all in the budget.
And at some point, can we clarify which were the replacement positions? I mean, I
Sure.
realize if there was a lot of juggling.
Yes.
I don't want you to be put on the spot, but if you can just let us know
Yeah,
that.
because we did
Great.
do, with posting the 12 new positions, there was a lot of bidding and movement, so yes, we'll come up with which two are.
Thank you.
Crisis counselors, there was, we were paying for those two positions through what funding?
Which grant was the crisis counselors?
Title IV.
Title.
Would you like us to continue to go down the list, or we just covered the professional appointments with you?
Does anyone else have any questions?
And I think you asked a question about, if these special education classes were not in compliance, I would not want you to lose federal funding for it, so I think you really do need to move forward.
Yeah, and I think all I was doing was trying to pull back a little bit so we could get that clarified 100% before.
Sure. And it sounds like all those positions are in the budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else?
That's correct, Mr. Lambert?
Yes, all 12 special ed positions are budgeted for as part of the December 12th meeting. Those are those additional staff that we brought in. We amended some of the funding sources related to some of the crisis counselors utilizing Title IV funds. So, yes, they're all in budget.
So we're on roll call?
Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Popel? Mrs. Dixon?
Yeah.
8 affirmative.
G2, Director Gamorn.
To the members of the Board of School Directors of the City of Scranton, it is the recommendation of the Policy Committee that the rules for the Board of School Directors be adopted as per the attached. Respectfully submitted.
Second.
Did you second, Mr. Schuster?
Second.
On the question? Roll call?
Mr. Borthwick?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Lush?
Yes.
Mr. McAndrew?
Yes.
Mr. Popel? Mr. Schuster?
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon?
Yes.
8 affirmative.
And may I ask once again to have a resolution to reaffirm policy 00011, the governance and leadership?
Yes, that,
It's part of the
Virginia,
book of rules.
is that
It's
a
on
part
the
of the book
resources on
of
the
rules?
Yes, I mean, it is referenced here, principles for governance and leadership.
But you would like
I would
us-
like a resolution where we read it and we all vote yes or no.
Certainly.
We adopted that last year. We
Yes,
should do that
and
every year.
since we'll be facing another appointment, I think this is perfect timing.
And
Thank
under
you.
new business,
Correct.
should we be advertising now to fill?
Well, Virginia will have to put out the advertisement after this
Advertising
meeting.
for the new board seat?
Oh, yes, yes. We have to wait till the resignation is approved, which it was tonight.
Right, it
Yes,
was
so now
approved, so
we need to-
now we have to
now we need to
advertise for the
advertise.
seat replacement.
Pursuant to the policy.
Okay. welcome Dr. Finan for joining us along with PFM and all our colleagues here on the board. We have a long road ahead of us. We hear what you're saying in the audience, and I'm thrilled to be working. I think we all are. I can speak for all of us to be finally moving forward, and we're going to have some tough decisions along the line. And I think with all the stakeholders that are involved, that we're really going to be doing our due diligence to make the best decisions